Order. Everybody stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First thing on the agenda is election of officers. The intergovernmental agreement has the secretary-treasurer as a split position. Wish I knew with my hand raised.
What? I think you need to do nominations for president first.
Okay. All right. So the intergovernmental agreement technically has the secretary-treasurer split, but they've been joined as one position for a long, long time. So it's kind of up to the board how they want to deal with that. So
The first topic is to nominate nominations for president.
right. So I need a nomination for president, please.
I'll make a nomination for Mark Cook to be our president.
I need a second, please.
No, you don't need seconds for nominations. You can just ask if there are any other nominations.
Any other nominations for president?
Yeah. I don't think you should go, unopposed, so I'll nominate myself as president.
Fair enough. Okay. Call the vote.
No. Are there any other nominations?
Say no.
Are there any other nominations?
No.
Okay. And so your bylaws don't specify the manner of voting, and generally it's done by ballot, okay, unless somebody wants it by voice vote when you do for officers. So we have 2 nominations for that, and so I'm going to hand out papers for ballot, and then I'll do the counting.
Point of order, please.
Yep.
Let's do roll call, just so we're being official. Roll
As
call.
opposed to ballot?
No, roll call, just who's present, making sure everybody go on record as
Sure.
to who's
Okay.
present.
Go ahead.
Okay, Mark Cook,
Yes.
Chris Brunig,
Here.
Dave Schrader.
Here.
Alicia Hines.
Here.
Me here. Thank you.
All right. If you would put either Mark Cook or Chris Brunig on there, fold it, and then return it to me.
Is there public comment before the election?
There is no public comment on the agenda, so therefore, public comment is not authorized or allowed under the open meetings law. Okay? And there's nothing called for that in the bylaws.
Oh, thank you. Sorry.
May I have those up, please? Since there will not be questions, I would like questions answered, please.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I've counted the ballots, and Mark Cook has received 4 votes for president, and Chris Brunig 1 vote, so Mark Cook is elected president.
Next thing on the agenda is the secretary-treasurer report, or secretary-treasurer positions. And like I said before, they were designed to be split, but they've been merged for as long as I could dig back in the record. So I think the board just needs to have a discussion about what they'd like to do in the future.
And the intergovernmental agreement authorizes combining those 2 positions. They have been in the past. We would need a motion tonight to combine them and then get nominations if you want to continue that practice. Otherwise, we would do separate nominations for secretary and separate for treasurer.
I make a motion that we continue with the secretary and treasurer as a combined office.
You'll need a second on that?
I'll second that.
Can I just ask a question? So the treasurer, I just have questions on the responsibilities of the treasurer, just because it's been done by an outside source, right? So is that,
I'm going to talk about that under budget
Okay.
a little bit.
I think since we're in the discussion mode, one of the, if we're reciting the intergovernmental agreement, there are separate responsibilities for both the secretary and separate responsibilities for both the treasurer as well as the president. So that therein lies, we have plenty of people on our board to kind of divvy up the responsibilities. So I'm more in favor of separating the duties of secretary and treasurer. We're all pretty busy. We all have, we're all juggling jobs. Well, most of us juggling jobs and everything else. To take on both of those responsibilities, I think, puts a lot of pressure on that one individual. But I know there's a motion and a second.
Any other discussion on that issue?
We've been operating with, or I should say the commission, I have not been on the commission until now. We've been operating with the combination secretary treasurer for some time, is that correct?
Yes, for a very long time.
Well, I see no issue with continuing that. However, if, Chris, if you're wanting to step up and, nominate yourself for secretary or treasurer, I guess.
We got to complete this
Yeah,
motion and second
but
that's already through here.
I would
but
say that we've been doing it that way for quite some time.
Doesn't mean it's right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, I,
doesn't mean it's efficient. Yeah, yeah,
I'm trying to finish.
please.
Thank you. We've been doing it that way. We have not done a good job of it, but that doesn't mean that it's because the job is difficult to do in combined. It's very common to see that. It's cited in statute. Obviously, it's been cited in the intergovernmental agreement. We have between now and April until the next time we elect officers. Perhaps this would be an opportunity to see how it continues, see if we can get it right. That's just my comments on this subject.
Call the vote.
Any other discussion?
Any other discussion on that issue? No.
Okay. then
What's your take on it, Mark? What do you think about divvying up the responsibilities?
I think that it could go either way in my mind.
Mhm.
I've done both. I had to do one for part of a year. And I think the secretary job is a bigger job than the treasurer's job, because you have to, keep everybody on task and do the agendas and do the minutes and all that. That's kind of a big job.
Mm-hmm.
The treasury job, the way we have the finances split up, you can make it as big as you want to make it.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit different kind of a position. So I don't have a real passion for it either way.
The motion on the table is to combine the two posts for the purposes of elections this year.
So if we were to split them, is there any interest from
Yeah.
anyone to do?
I'd be interested
Either
in the
role.
treasurer position.
As am I.
I am not.
I'm willing to do both.
Okay, any other discussion?
Okay, so the motion, so everyone's clear, is to combine the two positions for the purposes of this year's nominations for secretary and treasurer. So the yes vote would be to combine them, and the no vote would to keep them separate. Okay, so you need to take a roll call.
Would you like to do a roll call, please?
Okay, Mark Cook?
Yes.
Okay, Dave Schrader?
Yes.
Okay, Chris Bernig?
No.
Angela, I'm sorry, Alicia Hines?
No.
Okay, and I will vote yes.
Okay, that motion carries 3-2, so for purposes of the nominations, and you have to ask for nominations for secretary treasurer in a combined role.
I'd open it up for nominations, please. Can I nominate?
You sure can.
I'm gonna nominate Sheila. She's been helping me with this job for a while, so I know what her skill set is, so I'm gonna nominate her.
ask if there are any other nominations.
Any other nominations for that?
I'll throw my hat in the ring, too. I'll nominate myself.
Okay. And do a ballot again?
You have to ask for if there are any other nominations.
Any other nominations, or is that it?
All right,
We're going to vote.
you're going to vote. Two that way, three that way. And then fold them and
Way
pass
more
them.
writing than I expected to see.
Thank you.
Okay, the tally upon counting is 4 for Sheila Palinkas and 1 for Chris Brunig. So Sheila is elected secretary treasurer in a combined role for this term.
Can you pass this down, please? This is the box that came from Mark McNally when he left.
All right,
It's not been opened.
okay.
Okay, the next thing on the agenda is a brief discussion about the budget. So there's a lot of questions about the 2024 budget. I've been getting emails from people. Last August, I've been on the board a couple of years, and last August we were looking at the books, and we did a budget, and we broke things up a little bit different than we'd ever done it before. But it was pretty clear that we had not had our books gone through by a CPA forever. I don't think it's ever happened. So we decided that we were going to do that, and we hired a firm. It's called, her name is Jamie Bennett, and the firm is YPTC. And she's promised, and it looks like she's going to deliver on that analysis of our data by the end of August. After we get that data, I mean, it'll be open to the public. Everybody will be able to take a look at it. Then the 5 municipalities, whoever the representatives are, I'm guessing it's this board, will put together a budget, send it back to the municipalities to vote on.
Does that data consist of an audit?
Well, I'm calling it an audit. So she's a CPA with an MBA. This is what she does. That's all their firm does.
All right.
So
So the intergovernmental agreement requires input from EMS and fire side to the commission for purposes of formulating the budget. So you have the CPA data by the end of the August coming in with the reports from fire and EMS, and then the intergovernmental agreement requires the commission then to submit the budget to the municipalities by October 1st. So
Right.
that's the plan.
And I'm not sure, the fire department forwarded us some budget information a while back. I'm not sure if they're gonna update that or not, but they got till the end of August to do it, so we'll find out.
Can we have a budget committee to work on this before we actually get to the point of submitting it to the municipalities? I think it deserves careful attention, especially once we get the numbers from the CPA firm, and I would hope that we would then take current numbers from fire and EMS and take a fresh look at everything with all of that in mind.
There's nothing in the IGA that prohibits you from doing that. In fact, you have general power to establish any ad hoc committees that you want, including if you want a budget committee. That
And
would
our-
require a motion on the table to establish it and discuss the parameters and the appointment of people on it.
And are we able to work as a committee without, being in open session, just general work?
You would have to, if you're a designated committee of the board, it would be subject to open meetings notice and the statute, so.
Okay. Chris, are you interested in participating, or Alicia, on a committee to work with that?
Sure.
You guys be what? Okay. Do we need to establish that now, or is that something that, any harm in doing that now?
I don't see why.
I mean, it would be in place if you do it now as the August audit comes in and the September data comes in from the two departments, so then you can schedule that.
Well, I'd like to establish that now. Do we require a motion?
You would have to require a motion to establish
What's the objective of the committee?
To work together, fresh eyes, to review things and have, one person may see something one way, another person may see something a different way, or may not see something. I think just many hands make light work, and if we work together on this, we stand a better chance of coming together with something that works for everybody.
Well, if that's the case, we would have split up the secretary and treasurer position. So, I mean, I see your point, but, you got.
Are you interested in working together on a committee?
Can we do,
Okay.
we could do the whole board too and see how that goes, if you'd rather try that. Should we try all
That's
5 of
my
us at
thought.
once and just
Yeah.
post?
You could, the way it's done, you can do it either as a committee, whose charge would be to present the draft budget to the entire commission, or you could work the commission in a meeting as a whole for budgetary purposes, which would be an open meeting of all 5 of you, where you would work at it, and it would be a round table. There's less formal need for motion and second and discussion. You would just work around the table. It would still have to be noticed as that, but it would be a working session of the board, as opposed to like this is a formal business meeting.
Yeah.
So you can do it either way.
I'm
We-
fine with being a part of anything as long as it's an open session.
Of course.
All right.
Of course. My only thinking is that if we have a committee, it's easier for 3 or 4 people to get together, or 3 people to get together than 1. But I'm open to whatever way you choose to do it. So if someone would like to make a motion on that topic, I think it would be great if we did it tonight, so that we're not losing time.
I'm going to make a motion that the committee is made up of all 5 members, and we post the meetings and have them in open session.
Okay.
And I would second that.
Okay, and I'm going to formalize that. It was a motion to establish the commission
Is it a subcommittee?
as a committee of the whole,
And you just call it a workshop.
of the whole for purposes of developing the 2024 budget. So if you permit me to scriven it that way, it would be the motion to establish the commission as a committee of the whole for purposes of developing the 2024 budget, okay? So typically at those meetings, notice it as a committee of the whole. It's an open session. You work on the budget. You don't take action, okay? Okay, and you can schedule a meeting right after that of the commission to adopt that, or you can schedule that for a different time. But we can work through those mechanics, okay? So the motion on the table with a second is to establish the commission as a committee of the whole for purposes of the 2024 budget, which is what it is saying is that to develop the budget, you're going to work together as a group, as a committee of the whole,
In open session.
in open session.
And we don't have to worry, because we're not taking action, we don't have to worry about having a majority of the people, whoever shows up can work without having to lose, without
We're not
having to
voting on
cancel it.
anything. We're not
Right.
taking action.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
you don't need 5.
Okay, perfect.
You need a quorum of 3.
Okay.
If we're not taking, okay, perfect.
Yeah. You're still going to need a quorum.
Why,
Of
if we're not
3.
taking action?
Well, because you're working on matters pertaining to the establishment of the committee. Okay,
That's the way it should be.
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
My only caveat is, in terms of the open session, there might be, I don't think there will be, but there might be some need for a short closed session relative to the impact of collective bargaining negotiations on the budget, okay? Which if we're in negotiations, would need to be in closed session to talk about that aspect, okay? But
Or
the other
salary.
stuff, right, okay?
So how do you want to handle this? You want a roll call?
Voice
Yeah.
vote.
Voice vote's fine for this.
Okay,
All-
so who seconded, I'm sorry?
Dave?
I did.
Dave,
Dave.
thank you.
All those in favor of the motion on the table, please say yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Motion
To say
carries.
opposed.
Opposed? Nobody?
So on that work session, then, I would assume that Paul and Joe will be there to present what their needs are.
Sure.
They can't be, yeah.
So the next thing on the agenda is the introduction to our collective bargaining for EMS units, and I'm going to turn it over to you, Steve.
Okay, in 2020, there was established a collective bargaining unit of the full-time EMS paramedics through the International Association of Firefighters Local 311. We bargained in 2020, in 2021, a collective bargaining agreement with those members. I think there's 6 or 7. Is Paul here? 7? Yeah. So that agreement expires at the end of this year. And so we have received the appropriate notice from Local 311 to commence bargaining. They've asked for dates. So we need to establish a bargaining committee, and in closed session, we're going to talk briefly about parameters that are going to guide that committee, which is what we did last time. When we bargained the initial agreement with the IAF, the commission was represented at the table by the EMS chief, the chair, the president of the commission, and myself as the spokesperson for bargaining, okay? So we had 3 people, and my preference would be to have a team no bigger than 3 given the size of the unit, okay? The way this would happen is that team would report back and get its direction from the commission in terms of the parameters. So, we would not be, in terms of a bargaining team, putting any item on the table unless we knew we had authority from the commission to bargain that. Or if we were bargaining, we would reserve any formal presentation of that proposal for acceptance, subject to ratification by the commission. Okay, so we're always guided by that, but it works more efficiently with a group of 3 to work through items of bargaining. It's fairly typical. So that would be my recommendation in bargaining, would be to have the chief, the president, and myself form that bargaining committee and authorize us to proceed. And then we'll discuss in closed session the parameters under which we proceed with the bargaining.
I'm sorry, I thought you had mentioned recommending a larger group this time, or was it
No.
not last time?
No,
Okay,
I wouldn't go larger than a group of 3.
okay,
Okay, just because the unit's 7, and so the most they're going to have is 3. That's how that they had
okay.
last
I
time.
just wanted to make sure I heard that correctly.
Yeah. So
So who's the parties involved?
the parties would be the commission, okay?
No, the 3.
The 3 would be myself as legal counsel
All
and the spokesperson, the EMS chief who oversees
EMS director?
the bargaining unit,
All right.
okay? And then the president of the commission.
All right.
Last time that was Gene. Yeah.
What's your pleasure?
So that's a suggestion to the group, or is that what you're presenting, or?
That's my recommendation.
Okay.
I don't decide that, but that, as the person who's bargained the initial contract, and, it went well that way and worked efficiently in terms of reporting back to the commission as well.
Has anybody had collective bargaining experience in this group?
I have.
I know I haven't. Alicia?
Back in the day with the state.
No? Okay. Is that something you're interested in doing, or?
It's been a long time.
Okay. I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot.
No,
I
but
just
I-
think it makes sense to ask who's had experience and,
Mhm.
you know.
I was school board president, so I had teachers union.
When anything that is actionable comes back to the commission anyway, right?
Yeah, it's got to come back to you anyway, and we take direction for you on critical stuff. So it's just who's going to sit at the table.
Okay.
I got to tell you, most people don't run onto this committee.
I don't know anything about it, so you're not going to hear a peep out of me. I just felt compelled to ask the question.
Mark, you get the time and ambition to do it?
Yeah, I'll do it.
Do we need a motion on this, or?
I don't think so. I just think we need consensus of the board that we would adopt that committee, or proceed in that fashion. I don't think you need a formal motion.
As secretary, am I hearing consensus then?
Sure.
Yep.
Sure.
Yes?
All right, we will proceed, and then I will work with our calendars and get back to the IAF, because we owe them a response in terms of setting an initial time for bargaining. So, and the sooner we get it done, the bet, it helps in terms of the budget. You don't have that out there as a placeholder.
Okay, thank you. Next thing on the agenda is a consideration of going into closed session for the following purposes. Pursuant to Wisconsin statute section 19.85(1)(e), to discuss parameters of collective bargaining with the EMS unit. Pursuant to Wisconsin statute section 19.85.1(c), for a status from legal counsel on personnel issues. Number 3, pursuant to Wisconsin statute sections 19.85(1)(e), for purposes of specific public business for which competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, in particular to respond to the Village of Cambridge letter dated July 24, 2023, and to address potential approaches to the recommendation for modification of the intergovernmental agreement.
I'll make a motion that we enter into closed session.
I'll second.